Hey, what's up, guys? Matt here from myrawintuition.com. Back for my 7-week post-fast update. So it's been pretty good. Can't complain. Energy levels are good. Got the workouts going again. So that has. Hey, what's up, Kirk? Good to see you again. Celine, always good to see you. Yeah, so just wanted to stop in, give you guys a quick update. I know it's been like 5 weeks. I think my last update was on week 2. So yeah. So again, energy levels are good. Put on 10 pounds now since breaking the fast. So 10 pounds in 7 weeks. It's been coming back a little slower than I was expecting in the beginning, but now that I think about it, kind of makes sense. You know, it's about so just a little over a pound a week. So let's see. Any questions out there? Looks like we got a few people here now. Celine asked, do I feel like I've been eating any less compared to before my fast? Yeah, maybe a little bit. I think it's kind of been partly due to, you know, the availability of good fruit. We haven't really had that great of selection in the last few weeks. So a lot of bananas, apples, dates, and big salads. So, and getting some steamed veggies in there as well. You know, that if I had better fruit selection, it'd probably be a little less of the steamed stuff. But over the last week, I've actually increased my steamed veggies a little more. But yeah. So how long did I do the fast for? Kirk asked. I went 26 days, and at the time I broke the fast, you know, it felt like the right time. Partly because I was, you know, going to be traveling a few weeks coming up from that point. But my next one, you know, depending on how I feel, I think I'm going to go longer than 26. I'm not going to say how long, but you know, it'll probably be at least another 26 dayer if that's what feels right at the time. But maybe longer. But I'm not expecting to do that until, you know, at least next year. So Kirk asked, do I stay 100%? Do I stay raw 100% or doing something else? Let's do a group fast. Yeah, we could always do a group fast. And I am not always 100% raw, especially winter time. It's actually this time of year I find to be the time where the fruit selection is by far the worst. You know, it's like down to grapes, apples, and bananas. And so I'm just like, man, you know, it's like, what do you eat? So yeah, I do some steamed potatoes. We actually just started doing a split pea soup, which has been really good. It's got split peas, potatoes, celery, carrots, onion. I think that's it, and then just water. So that's kind of been tiding me over. So when I do eat cooked food, I'll still have my big massive salad for dinner, and then I just kind of have like a side dish of soup or, you know, other steamed veggies, or sometimes I'll just throw it in with the salad and just eat it all as one thing. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing lately. Ed asked if I use a dehydrator for my raw recipes. Yeah, I do use a dehydrator. It kind of, you know, waxes and wanes. Sometimes I do it for a while, and then I'll go months without even using the dehydrator. So it's just kind of something that I get into grooves with. But other than, you know, some basic recipes, I don't do too much dehydrating. It makes me really thirsty usually, which makes sense. You know, you're taking the water out. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what we use it most for. We do kale chips. You know, those are good. Sometimes we'll make chips out of zucchini slices, and then we'll dehydrate. We'll soak our nuts and seeds, and then we dehydrate them so that they last in the fridge for, you know, months. They would without soaking too, but we like to soak our nuts and seeds to get some of the phytic acid off of there, and then to activate them as well. And then you can dehydrate them, put them in the fridge, and then you just always have basically soaked and dehydrated nuts or seeds ready to go whenever you want them. Kirk asked if I get my testosterone checked and how were my levels. No, actually, I have not. I should do that, just to share with people. I personally have no concerns. I know that the research shows that actually people that eat meat have lower testosterone than vegetarians or vegans. So I will have to do that one of these times. It's just that some of those tests are so expensive. So, you know, since my last lab test, you know, I've got insurance and it still cost me over $1,000. It was like $1,100 or something like that. So since then I was just like, you know, I'm probably going to hold off on doing any more tests. You know, it's just like, and maybe I could find cheaper places to get the test done. So I got to look into that as well. I know John Kohler has mentioned some good places where he gets some pretty inexpensive blood work done. So I might have to look into that, because where I went, you know, it still cost me quite a bit. And so I just kind of decided not to do that for a while. Although I could just set up, I kind of joked about, you know, if people wanted me to do a test, we could set up a fund and people can just fund me to do that. Because, you know, I really don't need it for myself. It's kind of fun to do, but, you know, it's mostly just to help, you know, educate people, let other people that are interested know, you know, what eating this way results in. But yeah, I might. You know, I don't know if anybody would donate, but we'll see. Ed, thanks. I've heard people get them and don't use them much, so that makes sense. Yeah, it's really kind of, you know, you get into grooves with it where you're using it for a while and then you go a while without using it. But I'm very glad that I have it. I love, you know, the different things that you can do with it. Years ago, I used to use the dehydrator way more than I do now. But, you know, as the years go on eating this way, it's like, you know, you get more and more refined and more simple. At least I do, with, you know, how I eat. So how I eat now is super simple. I don't use as many of the, you know, I don't know if I would call it gourmet, but, you know, the dehydrated dishes as much as I used to. So I keep it pretty simple now. I will say, so since the fast, I've gotten way more spiritual benefits that I've noticed, or emotional benefits, than physical benefits. Honestly, if I were to pick something right now, physical, you know, it'd be kind of hard to come up with something. I don't notice too much physically that I have, you know, really transformed after that 26-day fast. But spiritually / emotionally, I have noticed benefits. And so much less anxiety, much more like grounded and peaceful. I'm actually way more, I've been really drawn to breath work and doing breath work much more so than I was prior to the fast. Because during the fast, it was just like, you could feel everything in your body so intimately. And so, the breath was something that I was just always kind of noticing. And since they broke the fast, it's like that has stayed with me. Um, and so, yeah, I've been really doing some research on breath work and especially nasal breath work. I never really understood the impact of mouth breathing and nasal breathing, the difference between those. And it's so important that we breathe through our nose. It has so many different benefits than breathing through your mouth. The mouth is actually only meant to eat and to talk. For breathing, we're supposed to be using our nose. It has turbinates and cilia and it's like a whole organ. It's pretty big. And so the air gets filtered, it gets warmed, it gets moistened, and that's why when you breathe through your mouth, you get a dry throat because the air is just directly hitting back there, like you're sucking on a hair dryer or something like that. But when it goes to your nose, it gets moistened, like I said, and it just gets conditioned and ready, and it actually increases the air exchange between carbon dioxide and oxygen in your lungs. It actually increases the efficiency of your body and how it uses oxygen, and how the balance of CO2 in your blood. Actually, the more CO2 in your blood, it actually increases the release of oxygen from hemoglobin to the cells. So you get less oxygen and air as you're breathing in through your nose, but your body becomes accustomed to it, and it becomes more efficient with using that level of oxygen. And so it's really interesting. I'm still learning a lot about it, but yeah. And then before I eat now, I really like to get in a really peaceful, calm state. I'll do either some meditation or some prayer, or just have some, gratitude, something like that, and sit peacefully and breathe a few times, before I eat. And I found that to be really nice. Oh, wow, Cindy, you're still going on your juice fast. That's awesome. 110 days. Do you have a day that you're a certain length of time that you're planning to go, or are you just going until you run out of juice? Yeah, breath is life. Honestly, it's something that I don't think enough people are aware of, and just how important it is to breathe correctly. It makes a big difference. I'm really working on getting to the point where I can exercise still breathing through my nose. It takes a little time to get used to, but over time, your body, like I said, acclimates to it, and you're able to sustain. You fatigue much slower, and you're able to just do better workouts and things like that. So I'm again still getting into it, still kind of experimenting with it, but it's pretty interesting. Okay, sure. So you're doing this to heal some specific thing, Cindy. That's great. Keep us posted. Here's another book that I'm reading right now. The Microbiome Solution. Really good book. Really good. I'm only on chapter 5, but so page 45-ish. So I got a little ways to go, but so far, really good book. If you're interested in learning about the microbiome, certainly I would recommend this book. And also Fiber Fueled. So those are two really good books on the microbiome. Jackson asked, how is my digestion after the fast? Perfect. You know, never been better. But honestly, it's about the same as it always was. I've always had pretty good digestion. So no real big changes with that. So yeah, it's still good. I got the beard going now too. This is probably the longest I've ever had my facial hair. So we'll see how long I let that grow. Gaia's Gain, hey, how's it going? How long did it take to transition to 100% raw? Again, I'm not always 100% raw, so I don't want to put that impression out there, but it took me about a year. When I first got into this lifestyle, you know, I started out juicing, got into a 10-day juice fast, just kind of randomly. And then I, you know, felt the benefits of juicing. And so that really got me interested in the power of fruits and vegetables. You know, I figured if I felt that good after just juicing fruits and vegetables for 10 days, you know, I wanted to learn so much more because I felt so many great benefits. You know, my toxic thinking especially was something that really diminished, as well as my tight chest. I grew up with asthma, you know, my whole life. And so those were some things that really helped open my eyes to the power of fruits and vegetables. So yeah, after that point, after the 10-day juice fast, you know, again, sometimes it's a little difficult for me to give an exact amount of time because I never got into this with the intention of being raw or, you know, talking, you know, starting a YouTube channel talking about raw veganism or raw plant-based diets. So yeah, it was somewhere probably, I don't know, 8 to 12 months around there. So up till, you know, after about a year, I was pretty much, you know, I've pretty much stayed, if I were going to put a percentage to it, you know, 90-95+% raw fruits and vegetables. And then especially during times like now where fruits and the selection is just so bad, you know, we'll add in some soups and steamed vegetables and things like that. And the thing is, you know, I never got into the vegan junk food. So, you know, it's like that was one thing that I think people, you know, people's transitions are going to vary based on the person, obviously. But, you know, now that there's so many vegan junk food items out there, I feel like it's easier for people to get, you know, just kind of comfortable in that transition period, and they never really make it to the whole food side of plant-based eating, which is where all the magic happens. You know, people are going to see some benefits clearly from going from animal products to some of these processed vegan foods. But you know, once you get into the whole food realm, that's when, you know, that's when you're really going to start to see some changes. Yeah, Cindy, honestly, I am really planning on doing more videos. I've got so many ideas I want to do, but I'll get there eventually. Hey, Larry, good to see you. It's been a while. Terrific. Nice. Cutting out all animal products. Way to go, man. All right, so what else is going on, guys? What do you think of the beard? You like it or no? Thank you, Celine. Larry, the fast was 26 days. So 26 days on pure distilled water. It was a great time. What's next? So Cindy asked, what's next? Another juice fast or water fast? I am planning to do another water fast. The time is still to be determined. So that will probably not be for another year or so. There'll probably be some shorter fasts between now and then, you know, like 40 hours, something like that, 36 hours maybe. You know, those are pretty simple for me, you know, piece of cake. So that's just kind of what I generally do anyways. But for extended, you know, therapeutic fasting, I'm thinking probably another year until I do, who knows, you know, 26 plus. We'll see. Hey, Ivana, good to see you too. How's Seattle? Is it snowing over there? We've had quite a bit of snow here in Minnesota. Thank you for the compliment, Gaia. Joshua Brown, did you study with Dr. Morse? The beard is nice. Thank you, my friend. Yes, I did study with Dr. Morse. I am level 1 and 2 detox specialist certified. I did level 2 back in 2014. So love Dr. Morse. He was he's one of the reasons why I am still successful with this lifestyle today. You know, his education about detoxification was profound, and it was, you know, a great foundation for me to start with and to build off of. And so I credit his teachings for a lot of what I, you know, share today and what I experienced in my health today. Yeah, thank you, Larry. Lightwork asked if I experienced anything profound during my fast. I think the most profound changes actually have come after the fast. During the fast, I was certainly really, you know, dialed in mentally. Like I said in my last update, I was trying to, you know, take it easy. I wasn't trying to really overwork myself. I was trying to let my body and mind rest as much as possible. But I just had so much, you know, mental energy that I just had to utilize it. And so I worked on my book that I'm writing, and I got so much done with that. I just had so much clarity. It was just so easy to write. And so that was really nice. And then I read a lot of books as well. I think I read like 6 or 7 books, which is a lot for me. It usually takes me a long time to read a book, because when I read a book, I like to study it like I highlight and then I'll look things up as I'm going through the book. And so that takes, it adds more time. So it usually, slows down the rate that I'm able to go through books, but I was just cruising through them during the fast. And plus, when you're not eating, you have so much more time to do other things. So that makes a really big difference. So as far as things that were profound during the fast, it was really just connecting with my breath. A lot of it was, it just like drew me to recognize my breath. And that is carried over post fast as well. I've really been interested in breath work and the power of the breath, not only for mental and physical health, but for anxiety, which I guess can be, lumped in with emotional health, anxiety, and physical performance even. But I really want to, so again, something I don't think I've really talked about, but I've been really interested in learning how to develop my voice better. I feel like my voice is maybe the biggest hurdle that I have for getting my message out. I've never really been that comfortable speaking especially for long periods of time. I teach classes, raw food classes, and it's pretty easy to do that. I'm passionate about it, and it's just easy for me to talk about these things. But otherwise, just sharing my thoughts, and the thoughts don't come out when I speak the way that I think it. I'm sure plenty of people can relate to that. And so my voice has just never been that strong. And so I know it has a lot to do with how I breathe. I've been learning a lot about asthmatics. If you have asthma as a child, you are likely to have breathing issues in adulthood. So I hold my breath a lot when I'm trying to speak, especially when I get anxious. So you hold your breath, or I hold my breath, and it really affects the vocal cords and how loud and strong your voice comes out. And so those are things that I've been working on, and the fast was kind of a catalyst, get me more focused on improving that part of my presentation, I suppose. And so so that's kind of where it's brought me, and so I'm really looking forward to developing that a little more. Book recommendations. Yes. So I have a lot of book recommendations. I mean, the books that I started out with, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with these books. It would be, first off, the Detox Miracle Source book by Dr. Robert Morse. That was like one of my first books, but actually my first book on health was the China Study. I know a lot of people have read the China Study now. It completely changed my paradigm in how I looked at, diet and disease. And so that's a really foundational book that I think everybody should read. Again, the Detox Miracle Source book by Dr. Robert Morse. And then let's see, what are some other foundational books? I was just talking to Celine about this. When people get asked about books that they recommend, they can just like list them off, and I'm like, man, I don't know. Like I've read a lot of books, but other than those first books that I read, the China Study, Dr. Morse's Detox Miracle Source book, those always will be like seared into my brain. I've got my bookshelf over here, so let me take a quick peek, and I'll let you know if any of them stand out. So 1 second. Oh, 80-10-10 by Dr. Doug Graham. That's a very good book talking about, you know, raw veganism. All right, my leg fell asleep. Okay, so some other books that I would recommend is Becoming Vegan, or Becoming, well, that's a good one too, but Becoming Raw by Brenda Davis. Let's see, The World Peace Diet by Dr. Will Tuttle. Really good book, transformational for sure. Diet for a New America by John Robbins is a really good one. I mean, I guess it depends on like what, you know, what do you, are there a certain type of book you're or like a certain genre that you're wondering about? Any book by Paul Bragg, those are always good books. The Mucusless Diet Healing System, I don't know how I forgot about that one, but that's a really good book. All right. Yeah, if you want more, I can always give you more books, but those are some good ones to start with. All right, there was a couple more. The Blue Zones for sure. And then I really recommend this book as well, Our Stolen Future. It's by a couple people. Theo Colburn, Diane Dumanosky, and John Peterson Myers. It's about pesticides and how it's affecting our health and our future children's health, even before conception, and then especially the time frame in which you know, the fetus is exposed during its development. That makes a huge difference when it comes to birth defects and long-term health effects for the child. So it's so important to you know, avoid all sources of pesticides, especially if you're planning to get pregnant or if you are pregnant. You know, pesticides they're not good, especially during that time of life. All right, you are welcome, Larry. All right, any other questions? I don't know how long you guys want to hang out, but I can answer questions if you'd like. I don't think there's any additional, you know, tidbits that I can think of for benefits that I've gained during the fast. It's been, again, I mean, it was such a uneventful, you know, process through the fast and after the fast. You know, right away after I started, you know, after I broke the fast, it's no, Cindy, that's actually my backdrop for when I do videos. When I do those more cut, edited videos, that's usually what I've got behind me. It's just a piece of wallpaper that's for, you know, taking pictures and doing videos. So yeah, I don't live in a log or a wood room. It's just a little wallpaper. So But yeah, once I started eating after my fast, I had a bowel movement 24 hours on the dot, pretty much after I started eating again. And since then, it's just been, regular, super regular, just like before the fast. So I was really happy about that. Yeah, Larry said, I've been reading about the benefits of autophagy during prolonged water fasts. Are you able to speak on that? So yeah, I know a little about autophagy. It's basically just your body recycling, tissue that is not optimal. Just basically recycles it. The body recycles its own cells. So the longer you fast, the more autophagy is going to take place. And so it's just really, again, fasting is such a fundamental part of the human body. Um, so, people have concerns about fasting, and some of the concerns are certainly understandable, but once you educate yourself about fasting and you practice it, you don't have to, obviously don't do a 26-day fast right away, but I've been doing multiple fasts. I don't know, I've been regularly fasting over the last 10 years. And so my body, plus eating a raw vegan diet. So, my body is certainly primed to fast. It has much less residual toxins in it than if I were to do it back when, I was eating the standard American diet. And so my kidneys are healthy, my liver is healthy, my fluids are healthy. And so that makes it so much easier for the body to go through a fast where it's not, and I've done a 35-day juice fast before as well. So I've gotten my body fat level down to such a low amount, which is where the toxins are typically stored in the highest concentrations. And so my body is pretty clean when it comes to toxins from my past lifestyle. And so when you do a 26-day fast, it just, in that condition, it just gives the body such an opportunity to focus on healing probably things that I don't even realize need to be healed. So that's one of the things that, if you're going to get into fasting, it's a whole lifestyle. It's not just you're living a typical standard lifestyle and then you just do a few fasts. You have to make this a holistic approach. You have to work on your diet, work on your exercise, work on your mental state, work on your environment, work on the people that you're surrounding yourself with. These are all intimately connected. And if you're just ignoring those things and you're trying to just fast, that's not a good recipe for success. So you want to give your body the most perfect situation you can give it to cleanse itself, to initiate autophagy, and to get rid of the mental, emotional, and physical toxins that we have all built up living in this society. So I don't know if that really covered what you were asking. Autophagy is again, it's really just the body recycling tissue that it sees like it sees fit to get rid of, and so just efficiently dumps that into the digestive tract and we eliminate it, or it goes out the kidneys. So let's see. Oh, good. Ivana, right? Is that how I said it? I always have to pause before I say it with the W there. It throws me off a little bit, so I apologize for that. Seattle is cold for you, but the nature looks beautiful. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, and same here in Minnesota. The trees, you know, they're a lot of the leaves have fallen now, but over the last few weeks, the scenery has just been amazing. And you haven't had snow yet. We've had snow way more than I expected. It's been snowing most days here. It doesn't really stick that much, but still, it's flurries are coming down pretty much on a regular basis already. So that's not what I like to see. Cindy asked if I'm back to fruits and salads at night. So yes, for the most part. But as I was saying earlier, the fruit selection right now is basically down to grapes, apples, bananas. That's pretty much it. so it's pretty slim pickings for fruit right now. And so I've been adding in more steamed vegetables, soups, things like that. Hey, Larry, thank you. He said my skin looks amazing. Yeah, and so another thing that for skin, I've been doing a lot more skin brushing, which has been really nice. Every single morning I skin brush. I've always tried to do that, but since the fast, I've really honed in on my morning routine, and so that has been you know, something that I've enjoyed doing since breaking the fast. But yeah, I skin brush, you know, my head, my face, you know, everywhere. Just allow the skin to get into a state where it's able to more efficiently detoxify, release lymph through the skin, as well as even CO2 we release through the skin a little bit. So it's not just through our lungs. Misfit Vegan, yeah, the China Study, foundational, you know, life-changing book for me. So I recommend the China Study to almost everybody. Well, to everybody, but if I remember, I always remember. Wow, I always try to remember to recommend that when somebody asks me about a book to get started with. Yeah, definitely. Arnold Ehret, another great, you know, pioneer for this movement, and yeah, his books they're all great. Let me see if I. Huh. Well, so here's Thus Speaketh the Stomach and the Tragedy of Nutrition by Arnold Ehret. This is a good one as well. And then Rational Fasting, great book if you're interested in fasting to get your hands on. And again, and Spiritual Rejuvenation. I 100%. I think that's really, you know, those are the things that I have felt myself more so than the physical benefits. So spiritual rejuvenation is certainly something that I would, if you're somebody looking for, a reconnection with your spiritual side, with your intuition, fasting is something to start learning about, so that you can start that process. Larry says, did you find support through a fasting group, or did you do it all on my own? So I did it all on my own. I'm not recommending that anybody do that. Again, I've been fasting for 10 years now, various lengths of time. I've read several books on fasting. So I've really done the research. I've done the introductory work on myself. I've been eating a high water content, raw fruit and vegetable diet for roughly 10 years, almost, coming up here in April. And so, it's just one of those things, but it's definitely not something that you should just jump into without the proper education by yourself. That's what I would say. I did years ago. I did faint during a fast, so that's one of the reasons you really have to know what you're doing. And so, luckily for me, nothing bad happened. But people faint sometimes and they hurt themselves during a fast. So you just want to make sure that you're educated, you're prepared, and you have your environment set up to support you. And that includes people and what you have in your house. Why aren't more people in society talking about fasting? I can't believe it took me so long to discover it. Yeah, honestly, the minute I started learning about it, the minute I heard about it, I was drawn to it. And I've been so intrigued by it ever since. And like I said, I've experienced the benefits myself. I know there's a lot of, stigma that comes along with it. And, there's people that aren't supportive of fasting. And that's their call. It's not for everybody, but if you're drawn to it, I just recommend that you get educated about it and go from there. Interesting about the vocal changes. I also find raw vegan diet makes my voice clearer and better sounding. Yeah, and again, I'm really just looking to fine tune it and to really get more comfortable breathing while I speak, because that's something that has held me back. When I'm giving say somebody interviews me, those are the times that, especially just in the beginning, as the interview goes on, I get more comfortable and I start to breathe better. I think it's just the anxiety that triggers short breathing and chest breathing. And so it's just like, I don't breathe when I speak, and so I run out of breath, but I continue to try to speak. And then my voice starts to sound all messed up. And so then it starts getting in my head, and I'm like, oh, well, now I sound like, I don't know. It just gets me more anxious. And so, yeah. So I'm just really working on nasal breathing, filling up my lungs, breathing full breaths, and then speaking as my full stomach of air is going back to my body. Again, I'm still learning about all this, so I'm not that great about speaking on it. But yeah, I'm actually, if anybody else deals with this issue, somebody that I've come across is, there's a couple people that I recommend people introduce themselves to online here. Roger Love is, I guess he's really well known. He does singing. He's a singing instructor and a voice instructor for like movie stars, you know, for like all the actors and the famous people. So that's kind of his where he's known. But he gives some really good, you know, information about getting more comfortable speaking and how you breathe affects how you sound. I just really like how he explains things. So that's somebody that I've just recently got into. But then also to learn the physiology with breathing and the effects it has on our just entire all of everything within us, and how, you know, breathing affects so many things regarding our physical structure and as well as our just health and well-being. It's amazing. And so his name is Patrick McCown. And I think his YouTube channel is it's either The Oxygen Advantage or just Oxygen Advantage. He does some really good what? Yeah. So he gives some really good information about the benefits of nasal breathing. And then also somebody that I have been watching his interviews, I forget what his name is, but he just came out with a book about breathing. I think it's just called Breath. The book is called Breath. His name is James Nestor, and his book is Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art. So that's a book that I want to get. I haven't ordered it yet, but I will eventually. Cindy asked, "What cooked food do I eat?" Oh, and Larry, yeah, man, send me a message. Cindy said, "What cooked food do I eat?" So I eat pretty much just, if I'm gonna eat cooked food, it's gonna be whole foods. It's gonna be, you know, steamed veggies. So something. Okay, I'll give you guys a revelation that I've come across with the whole cooked food / purity, you know, what people consider as purity mindset. I'm a fan of purity mindset. I think, you know, we should always strive to do our best. The thing is, what that is, in my opinion, is different in each moment. You have to take into consideration the holistic viewpoint. You know, I have to step back. It's not just about eating 100% raw food. You know, you have to look at, again, the financial situation, people's, you know, work situation, the availability, the time of year, you know, other emotional things that are going on for people. So it's such, you know, a complex thing that, you know, your best today is likely going to be different than your best tomorrow. And I don't like when people put down purity mindset, because I do think that always striving to do your best is what we should all be doing. It's just, again, I think people just put that concept in a stationary box and they don't have any flexibility with it. And so that's where people get into trouble and they start stressing out about things. So actually, after reading the Blue Zones book, so this is one of the revelations I came across. And it's not like anything groundbreaking, but you know, I mean, you look at the people in the Blue Zones. Hey, what's up, Jalen? Good to see you. You look at the people in the Blue Zones, and you know, these people are not eating 100% raw or vegan diet, you know, for the most part. And so these people are still living, you know, a good portion of them live very healthy, long lives. And so it's not, you know, people get so fixated on diet and making sure everything is perfect with their diet, but they ignore, or they just don't give enough attention to everything else in their life, their stress levels, their self-talk, their mindset, their social circle. Kirk, the last time I ate meat was, I don't know, 10 years ago or more, something. It was around 10 years ago, I would imagine. Yeah, so, I'm still trying to figure out how I want to communicate this message, but it's essentially, don't get too caught up in the weeds when it comes to being 100% perfect, 100% raw with your diet. If you're eating whole cooked foods, raw or not. Now, I'm not saying that I've lost any, belief that raw is best. I still fully believe raw is best, but I don't have the opinion that eating cooked plant foods, especially whole plant foods, is going to really have any significant detriment to your health. How I personally do it, as I've said, but I'll say it again, is when I eat cooked food, again, it's going to be whole. It's going to be steamed, veggies usually. Every once in a while I'll have we'll cut some potatoes up and put them bake them and make fries. But it's going to be whole food. It's not going to be a packaged product. But if somebody's going to eat a packaged product, it's probably, it depends on how much they eat it. But if somebody has a plant-based burger or something like that here or there, probably not a big deal. The thing is, it's just about having a holistic mindset, a healthy mindset. And I personally feel the people that get super fixated, and now this is just, again, in general, there are specific situations where you are going to want to be stricter with this and be 100% raw. And high fruit, or whatever your belief system is around that. Some people are high fruit, some people are high greens. I lean more towards the fruit, but so it's just, other than those situations where you're in a chronic health crisis or an acute health crisis, I suppose, you don't have to really worry that much, in my view, if you add in some cooked plant foods, right? So yeah, like I said, it's just, I think the people that get fixated on, they really stress out if they're going to have some cooked food, even if it's just like a small portion of cooked food. Those are the people that I think really need to do more work on the other aspects of their health, their mental health, their emotional health, their, just breath work, really work, just get in tune with yourself and get, perspective on, what is really worth stressing out about and what isn't. And I don't know if that was helpful, but that's kind of just something that I've been mulling over since I've done this fast. It's just interesting how we've gotten so fixated on perfecting the diet. Well, we're sitting in a chair all day, or we're staring at a screen for the majority of the day. We're not getting outside, we're not doing any physical activity, we're thinking, we're watching the news, we're thinking negative thoughts, all these things. They're just as important as making sure that you're eating a healthy diet. All right, let's see here. Do I eat kiwis? Yes, I do eat kiwis. I just had kiwis a few days ago. Yeah, they're so good. Okay, so sorry, Cindy, I don't know if I fully answered that. Steamed vegetables, potatoes, um, just added, I haven't had, so I'll take that back. I've had the frozen peas, sweet peas, um, in a bag, obviously. So those aren't fully raw either. But we just started adding in some split pea soup, and that has been really enjoyable. We've really been liking the split pea soup. So just having some soups and steamed vegetables is really kind of my boundaries that I like to take it. Every once in a while, here or there, maybe I'll have something uh, outside of that, but it's usually pretty close to those boundaries. Yeah, the speaking thing is something you just gotta. I've realized it's something you just have to practice, and it gets better. And like I said, my class, it's weird. It's certain times it happens and certain times it doesn't. So, during my classes, almost always it's pretty good, and other times it's I wonder what happened, but. Let's see. Larry just finished reading Fiber Fueled. Nice. Yeah, really good read. And then another one, if you want to learn additional information about the gut, the Microbiome Solution by Robin Chutkin is another really good book. I'm only to chapter 5, but I mean, I can already tell that it's one that I'll probably be recommending. All right, let's see. Yeah, high fruits. High fruits is the way to go, in my opinion. Though, people that I follow, John Kohler, he's kind of moved more towards the greens as he's, gotten older. But, I'm curious to see how I'll be eating at that time. So that's another thing. It's just, you have to be flexible. You have to be open-minded. And you just have to be willing to learn and experiment on yourself. So, it's a ride that we're all on, and we just have to, go with the flow. Kirk asked, when I eat fully raw, what are the greatest benefits that I see? The greatest benefits when I'm fully raw, well, first of all, my just overall health and well-being, they are the highest. That is why I truly don't believe that I will ever lose that sort of just knowing about the raw diet. It just, everything about it makes sense to me, analytically, but then also in practice, it makes me feel the best as well. It's just living in this system. We live in such just a shitty system, and I shouldn't say that because I'm trying to really get into the positive, just being impeccable with my word. After I read the 4 agreements, I realized I got to be more impeccable with my word. So only speaking things that I want to create in the world. Did you guys see that little hair fly by? Cat hair. Yeah. So anyways, the system we're in makes it difficult for pretty much, unless you're living in Costa Rica or in another really, year-round warm climate, it can be difficult. I know there's people in Canada, there's people in Minnesota, there's people all over the place in colder climates that are doing it. And I have done it as well, but it's just that, I'm at a point right now where it's like, one, is it really worth, going through the extra trouble? I already, and I don't honestly find it, I don't call it going through trouble. I don't really think it's very difficult, but just having some options with some cooked food, some, steamed vegetables and things like that, it just gives you that little bit of relief from, the grind with the system that we live in and living in a cold climate. So, yeah. But anyway, so just overall, much clearer minded. My energy levels are better. I'm more productive. I get less distracted, to be honest. And I mean, those are really the main things. Really, the connection with my intuition is much stronger when I'm as close to 100% raw as possible. Yeah. Oh, and well, yeah, it's just, practicality and just efficiency wise, it's just so much easier eating raw. If you cook food, you got a lot more dishes to do and things like that. So it takes more time away from doing other things. Also, I am more prone to overeat when I eat cooked food. So that's why I'm when I'm eating cooked food right now, I'm really trying to just have like one or two little side bowls of whatever I'm having, and that way I kind of keep myself from overeating, because one, I'm still eating my huge massive salad that I always eat, and that gets me pretty full, but having just a little extra something with that cooked food, when I haven't really been getting very much fruit over the last week, so it just makes up for times like that. And so yeah, just feeling better from not overeating is another benefit, I suppose. But yeah, again, those are most of the benefits that I can think of right now. I will say also that I do have to catch myself from, it's easy to make justifications for continuing to eat cooked food, even when the fruit selection starts coming back, because you really notice it in the first or second day and how you feel. My energy levels are just a little bit lower. Again, it might be just from overeating, but as the days go on longer, if you're eating cooked food semi-regularly, it starts to feel like normal. And so you just have to have that awareness that it's not, you can feel better, even though it's not like I feel bad when I'm eating cooked food, on a semi-regular basis with my dinners. But when I get back to fully raw and I've got a good selection of fruits, that's really when I notice that I'm feeling my best. So, yeah. All right, let's see here. Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. See, you overeat too when you eat cooked food. It's so easy to do. I mean, it's difficult to stop at that right point. You just always seem to go over. Awesome, Larry. Jalen says, I think I fall in the category of being a bit perfectionistic with my diet and lifestyle. I just find in terms of cooked foods, when I've introduced them in the past, my binge eating behaviors return. Yeah, I falls right in line with what I've been saying, just that last little tidbit. I agree. It's easy to do that. So yeah, you just got to be careful with it, and got to do what's best for you. Kirk is thinking about moving to Hawaii, like Dan the Man and Fully Raw Christina. Man, that would be nice. It would be. I've been scoping out southern areas, South Florida, South Texas. Um, Hawaii would be really nice. It's just, I don't know. You're just like on the island, and if you're on the mainland, you can travel a little more. But hey, maybe you wouldn't want to. If you're in that pristine environment. But yeah, I don't know. Hawaii has been on the list for potential places to go. It just seems pretty expensive, but I haven't looked into it that extensively, so I may be wrong on that. There may be some affordable places to live. Hey, always happy to talk, Kirk. Thanks for always being here. Larry says, so raw food is better than cooked food? Question mark. How can I ensure that I am eating raw? Yeah, again, it's like you don't have to necessarily worry about being 100% raw. For most people, just work your way into it. Some people can go right 100% raw overnight. People do it. I did not do that. I pretty much transitioned over a year, something like a year. And so I, pretty much just got into whole plant food eating. Didn't know anything about veganism. It was purely just, I was feeling the benefits after a juice fast. And I was so interested in the power of raw fruits and vegetables that I was just including more raw over time. But I was mainly, looking at, just whole plant foods, cooked or not. And months down the line, I was really getting more inspired by the raw idea, and just learning from Dr. Morse, Stan McDonald, John Kohler, Tanny Raw. At the time, During Rider was pretty inspiring back then. Not so much anymore. Although I haven't really checked into him for quite a few years, but back in the day, yeah, I found some of his content very inspiring. And yeah, so those were kind of the people that I was looking to get inspired and educated, kind of get my feet wet when it came to raw. And I just worked into it, and I started with breakfast. Once I was comfortable with breakfast, got to lunch, I had a first half of my day was raw. And then I just worked on my dinners, and eventually I wasn't even attempting to be 100% raw, to be honest. I was just, adding more raw because I liked the idea of it. And then all of a sudden I kind of realized I was eating a raw food diet. So, it just kind of went from there. But you don't have to be in a rush, go, don't be afraid to push yourself, for sure. Push yourself to the point where it's going to be sustainable. But don't be too hard on yourself if you're not 100% raw right now. You can always be 100% raw, in a few months or in a few weeks or in a few days. It's just up to you and your situation and how that works for you. But yeah, you asked, where did it go? How can I ensure that I'm eating raw? What I like to do is make sure you start the day off raw. So start with breakfast. First, whatever time you have breakfast, actually before that, have 32 ounces of water. That's what I like to say, or what I like to do. And then from there, you just want to make sure you're hydrating your body. The more hydrated you are, the less cravings you're going to have. And then on top of that, you're going to just want to make sure you have a nice big, I'm actually falling in line with eating a big breakfast of fruit to start your day. I like to start eating around 9:30 or 10. That shifts back and forth. Sometimes it's more closer to 11 or even noon. And sometimes it really doesn't get any earlier than 9. So between 9 and noon, I kind of fluctuate between, but on average, I would say it's, you know, probably closer to 10 o'clock that I usually start my day with eating anyways. So yeah, Kirk, start your day with water. Definitely. So big glass of water to start the day, get your fluids, you know, flush out your body, get that, you know, overnight toxic load that was dumped off by your body detoxing over the night. Flush that out. I'm working on my writing up the part of my book. I'm writing about my daily or my sunrise routine, and so I'm trying to get that all, you know, structured for you guys in a way that's doable. It's the way I do it. It's super simple. So I'll just give you a sneak peek right now. So I start my day off with 32 ounces of water, distilled water. So then, actually, before I do that, so I wake up, I go do my bowel movement and evacuate my bladder, obviously. So I clean out my eliminative pathways, get rid of, you know, my bowel movement. All right, thank you, Kirk. I empty my bladder. I do full body skin brushing to open up the pores, get my skin ready to detoxify throughout the rest of the day. I do some stretching to limber up the body, get the joints going, and really work those lymph nodes. And I also make sure to brush over the lymph nodes with my skin brush. So I have opened up my colon, my kidneys and bladder, my skin. I do breath work next, and then I pretty much drink my water. I kind of, it's not always the same point where I start drinking water. It's either after I skim brush or after I do my breath work. You know, that's probably more confusing than, you know, it doesn't really matter that much. But yeah, so then I drink my water. Then I do some exercise. And so I'm getting, you know, after I've opened up my eliminative pathways, then I'm really starting to move my body and get things, you know, working and limbered up and warmed up for the day. I like to sweat, at least, you know, when I'm working out, I like to get a sweat going, hopefully. And that helps to push out the toxins as well. And then, yeah, so then I have my water kind of in that range. But it's just important, in my opinion, to every morning have a routine where you open up your eliminative pathways. That's the kidneys, colon, skin, and lungs. And then, you know, do a little exercise, get a little sweat going, and that'll really get your energy levels up the rest of the day. And again, make sure to have that hydrating glass of water in there as well. All right, where are we? Yeah, Jalen, Costa Rica. Honestly, Costa Rica looks like the ideal place to be. Not sure that I'm going to end up leaving the States, but Costa Rica is really high up there on my list. So I don't know. Kirk, yeah, Hawaii. It's crazy expensive. It's terrible. Let's see. Jalen asked, what type of breath work am I doing? So I've dabbled with Wim Hof, but I am really drawn to it's really pretty simple. It's just nasal breath work. It's like alternate nasal breathing where you plug one nostril at a time, breathe out, breathe in, switch, do that a few times. I do just essentially just calming, deep nasal breathing. Again, it's, I've been into, I've gotten into breath work here and there, but I've never really studied it that much. So I don't have any certain like protocol or anything like that I'm interested in at this point. I do want to learn some more specific protocols with it. That's kind of where I started out with, is the alternate nasal breathing. And so I'm just kind of working from there. But I really like, so another thing I do in the morning is I don't turn on the light. So we have a salt lamp that's on the back of the toilet. And so I just plug that in the morning. And so it's just a nice lit or dim, salt lamp lit room. And then I've got some meditation going on, or some meditation music going on. And that's really how I start my day. It's super calming. I do the exercises I just talked about, and the breathing, and that really kind of just eases myself into the day. It's really calming and gets my parasympathetic going. Oh, and that's another thing, is the nasal breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system. Mouth breathing is more of a fight or flight activating way to breathe. And so that's why breathing through your nose is so calming, and just has so many benefits. Yeah, the black coffee in the morning might be revving up your adrenals a little bit there. So might want to switch to water and see how you feel. The thing is, eating raw, or eating even high raw, your energy levels will get to the point where you don't need coffee to, boost yourself up. You're just going to have that natural energy. If you are drinking coffee, by the way, only drink organic coffee. Coffee is one of the most highly pesticide-laden crops. So don't drink just any coffee. Get a good, high-quality organic coffee if you are somebody that chooses to drink coffee. All right, Jordan Holmes says, I need a lazy, raw vegan recipe to get more greens. Do you have any rice paper wraps or something? I found a dessert with fruit now. I need some greens, and I don't know what greens to buy. Any greens, Jordan. And to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of wraps, because this is why. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with wraps, but when I eat wraps, I end up eating way less greens. I get filled up on either the wrap or the other fillings that I put in there. And so I get more full off of way less greens. And I think it's so important to eat a large quantity of greens. So that's one reason why I don't tend to do wraps and, like taco type things anymore. I just like to have a big salad with whatever greens, the greens. So the greens that I like to rotate between is kale, the different varieties of kale. If you are fortunate enough to have a grocery store or a health food store that has, different varieties of some of these greens. So you got the kale, there's different varieties of kale you can choose from, different lettuces, green leaf, red leaf, romaine lettuce, bok choy, cabbage, different varieties of cabbage. Let's see, different herbs. I really think it's important to get in herbs like cilantro, parsley, dill, basil, all the fresh herbs I'm a big fan of. And then let's see, what am I missing here? Celery, great. Yeah, produce, not pills. I agree. Who doesn't love kale? To be honest, I did not like kale when I first started out on this lifestyle. I didn't hate it, but I didn't care for it, you know? And so as the months went on and years, now kale is my all-time favorite green. I love kale. So, you know, that's one thing that you'll realize is if you're new to this lifestyle, you're just new to adding in more fruits and vegetables, especially greens people struggle with. Over time, you will find that your taste buds will adjust, they will change, your microbiome changes, and so your cravings and just your choice of what you feel like tastes good is going to change. So don't give up on any certain thing that you might not care for at this point, because it could change within time. Hey Sherry, yeah, I know. It's been a while. I think it took 5 weeks, so I'm here finally. All right. Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of people that like the nasal breathing. I've really come to enjoy it, and it's become a staple in my morning routine. So it's really good. Yeah, Kirk says lime water is great. Definitely. Yeah. Oh yeah, Seth gave a little protocol or a little exercise for nasal breathing while walking. Yes, that's what I'm actually right now. I'm working on nasal breathing while I do my workouts, like my push-ups, my pull-ups, my I like to hold dumbbells and walk around the room, or do squats holding dumbbells. I just learned from Dean and I think it's Aisha Sherzai. They're the neurologists, plant-based neurologists, I believe they are. I just learned in a video that I saw from them that your long-term brain health, I guess, is associated with so better brain health in later age is associated with the strength in your lower body. That's one of the things that they have found. That I don't know if they found it, but some research found that the stronger your lower body is, it seems to correlate with better brain health later in life. So, a little fact of the day for you. Oh yeah, so Seth says to, while walking, do nasal breathing, and you inhale 4 steps, hold 4 steps, exhale 4 steps, and hold 4 steps, and repeat. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Thank you. Kirk asked if I do colon cleansing. I have, but I haven't done it for quite a while. I used to do colon hydrotherapy. We've got a few places around here that some clinics that do colon hydrotherapy. So I've done that a few times. I've done quite a few enemas. But recently, I don't know, it's been quite a while. I don't know how, I've done maybe 1 or 2 enemas in the last year. So I just haven't, I feel like it's a little more beneficial earlier on in the cleansing process. Now I just don't really, I'm not too drawn to it at this point. But Produce Not Pills says, can't hydrotherapy really mess with your gut microbiome? I can't say for sure. I don't know. Possibly, I can see how that could possibly happen, but it didn't mess me up, and the people that I follow, that do colon hydrotherapy don't have any issues either. So personally, I don't believe that it does. I know there's claims out there that it can. So I think it's just up to everybody to do their own research. and make that decision for themselves. But again, I don't think that it does. At least I'll just say that it didn't for me, or the people that I follow here on YouTube. So take that for what it's worth. Produce Not Pills said, after your water fast, did you drink juice for half the time? No, I just, let's see. Do you mean during the water fast? During the water fast, did I drink juice half the time? Or after? But to answer both, I didn't drink juice at all. During the water fast, it was just pure distilled water. After the water fast was, again, just water and my food. So I started after the water fast. Okay. Yeah, no, I didn't do any juicing, other than maybe some celery juice, and like celery, cucumber juice. But that's about it for juicing after the fast. I mainly just got into watermelons, berries. Really, that was it for the first like day or two. It's been a few weeks now, so now I'm starting. I should have written all this down. But the kind of the path that I took after the fast was berries and melons for the first few days. Then I started adding in more dense fruits like bananas, and what else did I do? Grapes. Yeah, I went right back into eating after I broke the fast. Yep, and again, it was melons and berries. All right, where was I here? Jordan asked, could you use fruit-based sauces with the greens, or would that not be good for digestion? No, that's absolutely fine. Greens digest well with anything. So you can eat greens with fruits, and that should digest just fine for you. And that's what most raw foodies do. They make up especially if they're trying to be low fat or no fat, they'll blend up some fruit, like, it doesn't have to be sweet fruit. It can be sweet fruit, but it doesn't have to be. You could do mango and red bell pepper. I know that's a popular one. Mango and red bell pepper. That's a really good dressing. You could also do, gosh, there's a lot. I'm just not thinking of them. You can do citrus. That's a good one too. You can do oranges. And yeah, I mean, there's plenty out there. I'll have to make a video or something about some of that. But I do also have an ebook for fat-free dressings or savory dressings as well. I got 2 ebooks on salad dressings. So if you're interested, check out my website. Link in the description box. It's myrawintuition.com, and then just go to the shop. Yeah, Produce Not Pills says your taste buds definitely change. Get rid of the junk. So true. Get rid of the junk, and you will no longer have any desire for the junk. And if you do go back to it, you will taste just how toxic it is. For me, especially with soda or pop, we call it pop here in Minnesota, but people make fun of me for saying pop, like Celine. She's from California. She says soda. I say pop, but anyways, when I would, after I had been, away from pop for quite a while, um, and then I went back to it, and I during the time that I wasn't drinking it, I was doing, a lot of cleansing and things, and so my taste for that, it changed so significantly, and it was just like thick, nasty, like synthetic syrup. So it really makes a big difference. The longer you can go without something that is toxic, if you ever try to go back to it, your taste buds will have had time to recalibrate, and then they will, the senses are heightened, and then it'll let you know that that's not what you want to be drinking or eating. Yeah. So Jordan said, breathing with your nose is good and can also be a curse because you never know what might be around you in the environment, or a killer fart would also be so not so great. That's true, but to counter that, actually, if you breathe through your, so I remember in high school, uh, going on traveling for golf matches. One of my friends, we were going by a farm, and you could smell the manure, or you could smell something from the farm. It smelled really bad, and I just for some reason I have this memory in my mind from way back then. But he said we smelt it, and he goes, "Breathe through your mouth," or no, he said, "Yeah, breathe through your mouth." He said to breathe through your mouth, and so that you wouldn't smell it. But the thing is, you would want to breathe through your nose still, because if you breathe through your mouth, it has direct access to your lungs. There's no, again, we're not supposed to breathe through the mouth, so there's no filtration, there's no defense mechanisms in the mouth, through the mouth. So it has much easier access to get to the lungs. Whereas if you were to breathe through your nose, you have the turbinates, the pathways that the air has to flow through, and there's little cilia, these little hairs that will catch pathogens, and they're also responsible for moving mucus. And there's just so many defense mechanisms. The mucus itself helps to trap any pathogens that are going in through your nasal passage, and then it traps it and keeps it from getting to the lungs. And so the cilia, the little tiny hairs that are in your nose, they're like super small. They're not like the ones that you see coming out of noses, which those are important too. It's all important, like you don't want to just remove things to remove them. You can maybe trim it up a little, but don't yank them out, because they're there for a reason. They are filters. They are, defense mechanisms to keep pathogens from getting to the lungs. And so breathing through your nose is going to be the best defense, even if it's a smelly fart. You just got to suffer through it. All right. Kirk says he'll never do hydrotherapy again. He did it once. Nothing is supposed to go up there. Yeah. Hey, it's definitely not for everybody, and it has its place. It's definitely, something that you should look into, read up on it before you jump right into it, for sure. Sherry said, sorry if you've already addressed this, but are you eating any cooked these days? Did you heal anything mucoid plaque? Yeah, no worries, Sherry. I am eating some cooked right now. Been doing some soups and some steamed vegetables. I was saying earlier how the produce selection right now, and it's usually around this time of year, that it's just awful. It's just like bananas, apples, grapes, and I mean, I think that's it. You know, it's just it's really limited for good fruit, and so I've been compensating a little bit with that for that with some soups and some steamed vegetables. Um, and then did I heal anything? So the majority of what I have noticed since breaking the fast is it's been more spiritual, emotional changes, less anxiety, more connection with my breath, and just a calmer sense within. And so, nothing necessarily physical that I can think of at this point. Yeah, so everything is still good. You know, things were good before the fast. Things are still good after the fast, and it was really a spiritual cleansing and just a recalibration with my connection with myself, with God, with Source. You know, all that, and so that's really the biggest benefit that I've come across so far. And mucoid plaque, no long rope of mucoid plaque. There was definitely some dark material that came out in the first couple bowel movements, dark, you know, sections of my bowel movements. So that was likely some old material, possibly. I didn't really dissect it or anything. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. All right, Jalen, have a great night, my friend. Catch you next time. So yeah, possibly I got rid of some old hard material, and yeah, but otherwise, you know, feeling great, doing good. Workouts are getting back into my routine, and you know, I'm probably about 60% of my previous capacity for working out, strength wise, but it's coming back and it's going well. So let's see. Oh, and thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Larry says, how about raw nuts? If so, which kind? Yeah, definitely. 1 second. Jordan, I will get to that. So which nuts or seeds? Definitely do raw. You don't want to eat cooked or roasted nuts. The fats are oxidized. That's going to lead to more inflammation, oxidative stress. You want to stay away from cooked fats because they are going to be rancid. So raw nuts and seeds. The ones that I mean, if you definitely, so early, the way that I like to go about it is early in the day, like in my smoothie or smoothie bowl, I will blend in some either chia, flax, or hemp. Well, it's usually chia or flax. I don't really put hemp in my smoothies. You can, some people do. But I pretty much do either a tablespoon or two of chia or flax into my smoothie. And I like to get that, the first fat that I eat is going to be an omega-3 rich source. So chia, flax, hemp, one of those, or walnuts. So the reason for that is that the enzymes that work on converting the omega 3s, the ALA, into EPA and DHA, the same enzymes work on ALA and arachidonic acid and alpha-linolenic acid. And so to have the best conversion, because they say, you know, vegans don't convert as well. Well, one thing, we don't need to, because, you know, we have usually, if you're eating whole foods, you have less omega-6. You want to have something like 1:1 to 4:1 omega-6 to omega-3. It's not really something you have to get that, you know, micromanaging on. You don't have to get too concerned about it, especially if you're eating mostly just whole plant foods. Your ratio is going to balance itself out for the most part. But just for some insurance, adding in some flax or chia earlier in the day to help make sure that you get those enzymes working on those omega-3 fats before you start adding any omega-6, I think is a good idea. And then for my dinner salad, I will usually have a dressing out of sesame seeds or sunflower seeds or hemp. Or those are pretty much the ones that I go with for my dinner salads. And so I do about, for me, about a 1/4 cup for my dinner salad dressing is about right. And so, yeah, again, I got my dressing ebooks on my website if anybody is interested in getting some of those recipes and additional information that comes in those books. And then I've got plenty of recipes on my my YouTube channel here too. Okay, so, oh, nice, Produce Not Pills, 22-day water fast, very nice. Well done, my friend. How did it go? Okay, Larry said, I just add red bell pepper. Yeah, I mean, it's good to be simple. Honestly, it's good to be simple, but if you want to mix it up a little bit and get some new flavors in there, some other nutrients, you know, those are some things you can do. Jordan says, no worries. Thanks. Thanks, man. That's great. Oh gosh, I want this ebook. Well, yeah, if you get it, I hope you enjoy it. Should have some recipes in there for you that you'll enjoy. All right, let's see. Larry says soda. Okay, soda. Yeah, I think it's maybe a Midwest thing. Not exactly sure. Larry says, is drinking distilled water best all the time or just in the morning? Personally, I think drinking distilled water is the only water that I would personally drink based on the research I've done, based on just how it tastes to me, how it makes me feel. I don't know if it's placebo or what, but distilled water, in my opinion, is the best form of water that we can drink, especially in this environment. I mean, everywhere is completely saturated with poison, pesticides, industrial waste, industrial exhaust, automobile exhaust, you know, synthetic fertilizers, you name it. You know, there's toxic chemicals, synthetic chemicals everywhere in the environment. There's absolutely, I would be stunned if there was one source of water on the planet that is not contaminated. And so people that drink from springs, I always recommend get it tested. The problem is if they don't have a test for a certain chemical, you know, it's not going to show up on the test. So there could still be poison in the water, but they just don't have a test for it, so it's not going to show up. You know, even our deepest aquifers are contaminated with pesticides, and then remote regions in the Arctic are contaminated with pesticides, they found. So it's everywhere. You know, the Earth is a closed system, And the water, just like in our human body, the blood is going to flow, it's going to reach everywhere in the body, and it's one flowing stream. So the earth is no different. It is one flowing stream of water that's just circulating throughout the planet. So if, if they're really using harsh, toxic chemicals in Michigan, that doesn't mean that we're safe in Minnesota. It's going to find its way here. And so you have to really take precaution with those sorts of things, with knowing that there's thousands and thousands and thousands of chemicals that are being used today, and maybe 100, maybe 200, I believe, have ever had any testing done on them. So there's multiple thousands of synthetic toxic chemicals that are being used in our environment that we have no data on. We have no way of knowing exactly what they do to the human body. And so, in my opinion, I would not take the chance of drinking straight from a spring, even though, I mean, when you think about it, it seems like a natural thing to do, but knowing what industry and, the human population has done to all of our natural resources, but especially our water, all the farming chemicals, all the industrial waste, all the lawn chemicals, all the automobile exhaust, all the crap, that the chemicals they put, especially in places where it snows, they're always spreading chemicals to melt the ice, to keep the roads clear. All this goes into the water. It goes into our sewer systems and goes into our waterways. And that again, it's one system. There's no islands on this in this sense. It's all connected. So it's always going to be contamination throughout the system. Plastics, estrogens, all these things are, they are ubiquitous. So that's why I only drink distilled water now. Jordan says, what if I can't breathe through one nostril as good as the other? Yeah, okay. So that is natural. So that's supposed to happen. So each nostril impacts a different part of the brain, and it affects different parts of our body. And so supposedly, just like our left hand is controlled by the right side of the brain, and vice versa. So, the hemispheres cross and impact the other side. Same thing with our nostrils. When we breathe in through our left nostril, it impacts our right brain, our more creative side. And when we breathe in through our right nostril, if we plug our left one and we breathe in through our right nostril, it impacts our left brain, and so our more analytical side. So just having the natural variation, our body does that on its own, from what I've been learning. And so that's how it kind of balances our analytical and our spiritual or creative side. And so that, if you're saying right now that you can't breathe as well through one of your nostrils, check back in like an hour. I don't know how long it takes for it to switch, but check back in a little while and try again and see which nostril you can breathe through the best, because it changes. Sometimes I can breathe well when I close up my left nostril, and sometimes I can't. And then I do the same thing with the other one. But yeah, and make sure you're keeping your nose clean, blow your nose. I always used to be somebody that would avoid blowing my nose. And ever since I started, being really on point with blowing my nose, anytime I've got anything in there, I just like to get it out. And that it's important for allowing our nasal breathing to be the prominent way that we breathe. If you're all stuffed up, then you can't breathe through your nose. And so Patrick McKeown has some good tips for clearing your nose if it's stuffy a lot. One way is to, and this is another breathing exercise that I do in the mornings, is I do breath holds, where you breathe in naturally and then breathe out naturally. You don't want to like have a really pronounced breath. You just want to do as you naturally would. You breathe in and out of your nose. And then when you get to the end of your exhale, you hold your breath and you see how long you can hold it comfortably. And then once your body starts to signal that it wants you to breathe again, then you just breathe in normally again. If you breathe in where you're like you're like laboring to breathe in, you held your breath probably too long, according to Patrick. So those are just things I kind of play with. And so, yeah, mouth breathing, according to what I'm learning, it affects how your face bone structure forms. So that's why it's important for children, especially, to grow up knowing the importance of nose breathing, nasal breathing, and that will hopefully help them to develop appropriately structured skeletal or facial bones in the right proportions and everything. So, yeah. Let's see here. Oh yeah, but like I was saying, when you hold, so if you breathe out, plug your nose, and then go until you need to breathe again. If you do that a couple times, according to Patrick McKeown, that helps to clear your nose. And the reason for that is possibly because nitric oxide is actually produced in our nasal cavity as well. So that is another reason, another big benefit to why you would want to breathe through your nose. I think it's something like 60% more nitric oxide is produced when you breathe through your nose than if you do mouth breathing. So nitric oxide, which is like the lubricant for our blood to zip through our blood vessels, and it's a vasodilator. So it helps with the elasticity. It helps with blood flowing well and not clumping together. And so breathing through your nose, you're going to be generating more nitric oxide. I'm sure a lot of you have heard, Dr. Esselstyn talk about nitric oxide, and that's why you want to eat dark leafy greens, because they help to promote nitric oxide production by the endothelium. And so also things like beets and beet greens, and yeah, leafy greens. Arugula is good for that. But yeah, so the nitric oxide production, the more nitric oxide that we have that is produced in our body naturally, that is always going to be a good thing for cardiovascular health and more. Opinion on CBD oil and probiotics, Sherry asks. So I think CBD oil is good. Celine has been taking it, or she was taking it. I don't know if she still is, but it has benefited her. I don't really know a lot about CBD at this point. I haven't actually looked into it that much. So I can't really say too much about it, other than the fact that I've heard good testimonials from it. Celine has enjoyed taking it. I think it's just a little expensive, so that would be just one downside. But hey, I mean, if it works well for people, I think it's a good thing to use. And Dr. Clapper, actually, I just watched a video of Dr. Clapper talking about CBD. and he thinks it's a good thing to use as well. And so, probiotics, I don't necessarily think that they're necessary. I don't think they're needed for the majority of people. As long as you are eating plenty of whole plant foods, you should be taking in enough prebiotics to generate and to grow the probiotics naturally in your gut. And so I kind of experimented with probiotics earlier on, several years ago. But yeah, they can be expensive as well. And, I think that you can get everything you need for optimal gut health through eating the correct diet. So I think just, stay and actually, hey, that reminds me. So I'm coming up with a program for how to optimize your gut health. And I'm not going to give it away quite yet. I want to, but I'm not going to. But it involves, it's much more than food. Like I said, just about why I drink distilled water. That is a big reason also why I drink distilled water, because the pesticides are designed to kill anything, and to kill life, to kill bacteria. And so you want to make sure that you're not taking in the pesticides that's going to destroy the lining of your gut, especially things like glyphosate, which is pretty much ubiquitous as well. It is an antibiotic. That is what it is classified as. It's an antibiotic. As well as you want to, get out in nature. You want to expose yourself to your natural environment. You want to expose yourself to as many, pieces of the environment as possible. The dirtier we live, the healthier we will be. So that it's completely flopped, especially in these times. People think that you want to disinfect everything. It's so backwards. The dirtier, and I'm actually kind of referring to Dr. Chutkan's work, where she said, I think her line is, hold on, I got it. It's like, eat clean, live dirty. It's somewhere in here. Eat clean, live dirty, because the more bacteria, the more viruses, the more pathogens that we expose ourselves to naturally, the stronger our immune system and microbiome are going to be. The more we close ourselves off and the more we protect ourselves from bugs and bacteria, and take antibiotics every chance we can, for an earache or for a sore throat or something, you're destroying your body's ability to build a defense against the environment. And I don't even want to say it like that. It destroys the body's ability to live synergistically within the environment. So we're not building our defenses against the environment, because we are part of the environment. We are part of nature. We're not against nature. We're not trying to protect ourselves from it. We just need to figure out, we need to remember, we need to wake up to how to live synergistically in nature, in our environment. And so it's just so ironic that everybody is using hand sanitizer and talking about taking flu shots and any other shots that they're trying to get you to take, and especially in such an unnatural form. I mean, injecting something that is full of heavy metals and other adjuvants and chemicals that were, other animals, tissues and cells. I mean, how can we ever expect to have a healthy population when we're doing that to ourselves? It goes against nature. It just goes against our natural design, and what we were given, this amazing machine, the human body, as well as every other animal. That's one thing that I always kind of laugh at, is when people say how amazing the human body is. And while it is amazing, every animal has an amazing body, right? I mean, every animal has this machine that can do so many amazing things. Like my cat can jump like 10 feet high. I mean, that's I think that's pretty amazing. And so, it's just, again, it's just understanding that we are part of nature. We need to start living more naturally, and we have to stop disinfecting everything. And then there's no need for probiotics. We just need to eat a healthy diet. We need to avoid these chemicals. We need to get enough sleep, get enough rest, de-stress. We need to have proper stress management techniques. We have to be hydrated. We have to have healthy relationships. We have to, do all of these things. We have to exercise. I'm still working on improving a lot of these portions of my life because, again, I work on a computer all day. And so I try to take at least once an hour, I try to get up, do some exercises, maybe do some squats or push-ups or, things like that. And so I'm just, trying to do, again, my best that I can with the situation that I'm in. And I think that's what we all have to do. And so it's going to be different for everybody on how we do that. But there are, pretty much universal, just general practices that we can all adopt, that are gonna benefit us all. And so, yeah. Let's see. Thank you again, Sherry. I appreciate that so much. Let's see. And you had a question there. Speed reading retention tips. Yes, 26-day fast. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm actually not a speed reader. The only reason that I was able to read so fast read so quickly throughout the fast was just I think it's mainly because, one, I did have really sharp mental acuity at that point, but also I just didn't have anything else to do. So I wasn't making meals, I wasn't eating, I was just laying on the couch or sitting at the computer. So I had a lot of time to catch up on reading that I had been wanting to do. I did, I guess, read a little faster than I normally do. But again, I think that's just because I was so sharp mentally. It was great. But I don't really have tips for speed reading. Retention, I do. Because I if you've heard me talk about reading in the past, I am a pretty slow reader because I like to study things. I like to really make sure that I'm grasping certain parts of the book. And so things that I personally do to retain information as best as I can. Now, I would love to improve this quality as well, to retain more of the books that I read, because sometimes I get through a book and sometimes I have to go back and look through my highlights to really reinforce what I just read. But so I highlight, I read through it, I highlight, and if I have time, I will, after I'm done reading, I will go back and I'll read over my highlights. So I highlight quite a bit in my books that I read, because I like to, when I go back to a book, or if I just want to, like I said, in that moment when I'm finished reading, to just take a quick look back and look through what I found important that I just read. That is something that I really like to do to help increase the retention, is highlight the important parts, even if it's a lot. You know, some people just highlight a little bit here and there. I like to I go you know, gung ho with highlighting, because I just like to make sure that I don't miss anything that I find really important. And so highlight, reread your highlights. Something else that works really well for me that I haven't been doing lately is I have a little like a voice recorder. You can just use your phone too, but I like to have a voice recorder because it's got its own little separate storage and everything. But read out loud. That is another thing that really helps with retention with information that you're reading. So highlighting, you can take notes. Also, something you could do is handwrite the highlights, or at least paraphrase what you highlighted, because when you write physically, it builds pathways, I guess, for retaining that information. Yeah, so read it out loud, and then if you read it out loud and you record it, you can listen back to it if you're exercising. I used to do that quite a bit. I would read my book out loud into my recorder, and then on my runs, I would listen to it while I was running. So it was just like really reinforcing the information from the book through highlighting, writing it out, reading it out loud, recording that, and then playing it back to myself while I'm exercising. Those are some ways that I have personally used to help increase retention. But I really feel like the more you read, the better you get at retaining things. One other thing that I will say is that when I am reading, and this is part of why it takes me so long to finish a book, is because when I find something that I want to know more about, I will go search it on the internet and I'll watch videos about it, and I'll do deeper research on it, and then I'll go back to the book and start reading again. So that takes extra time to go and listen to some videos, but yeah, listening to videos on the same topic that you are reading a book about, that really helps, because you get that visual, that auditory stimulus, and just mode of taking in the information, plus you're reading about it. And so what I like to do is when I'm reading the book, like say this one, the microbiome solution, I will go to YouTube and search the microbiome solution interview, or Robin Chutkin interview, and then I can listen to her be interviewed about this information while I'm going through her book, and that works really well for me as well. All right, so I hope that helps. Sherry asked masks. Nope, masks. Listen, this is the thing I'll say about masks is, one, I mean, if there's any indication as to how effective they are, being in Minnesota at this time of the year will, in my opinion, give you all the information you need on that. I was just in the parking lot of a grocery store last night, or 2 nights ago, and it was cold enough where you could see your breath. And these two guys come walking out of the grocery store, and they just got done working. And so they're, walking next to each other, talking. and you can see their breath coming right through the mask. You see their breath puffing right through the mask. So, I mean, that's really that's all I got to say about that. Kirk, I 100% agree. You know, I do believe they know way more than what is published in the data. I mean, that's been going on for probably forever. Companies that, and it's especially these chemical companies that, you know, it's like they are intentionally poisoning us and destroying the environment. So it's very concerning, and it is poisoning us. So yeah, it's a pretty insidious situation. The thing is, they have so much money. They control the regulatory agencies. They control, you know, government for the most part. And so it's it really comes down to us, like our action. The regulatory agencies are really just extensions of the industries, the extensions of the corporations. You know, I truly believe their main purpose is to give the false sense of security that somebody is watching over us and protecting us when they don't do hardly anything to protect us. They basically protect the corporations and the profits. And so, you know, you really have to do your own research. And, you know, nobody, especially in, you know, government is to my knowledge, looking out for our best interests. Lisa said, once I got off dairy, I breathed free. I 100% agree. You know, my asthma cleared up so much just getting rid of dairy. You know, it was amazing. Asthma was something that really, really, you know, gave me a lot of problems my whole life. And so, yeah, dairy is the first thing that I recommend people get rid of if they, you know, I mean, anytime really, but especially if I hear them talking about congestion or asthma or allergies, you know, things like that. Dairy, it's such a mucus former. It's such a inflammatory product that, you know, nobody should be drinking that unless you're a baby cow or a baby, and you should drink your mother's milk, and that's it. Jordan Holmes said, how about raw mushrooms? Can we eat those without greens? Yeah, you can. I don't know. Do you just mean like a meal of raw mushrooms? I don't know if that would be that enjoyable unless you really love mushrooms. I would recommend eating them in a salad. But yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, you know, I know there's claims out there that I believe it's agaritine in mushrooms that is a potential carcinogen. That's why people say that you should cook them. But there's other ways that the agaritine diminishes, and that, from what I understand, is just the amount of time from when it was picked to when you eat it. The longer it sits on the shelf or in the fridge, the less agaritine is present. Also, just the act of refrigeration itself supposedly diminishes the agaritine. So, you know, it's really not a concern to me. If you want to look into it further, I, you know, definitely do that. But Personally, I have no concerns about eating raw mushrooms. I don't know that I would eat them as just a raw meal though. So I would toss them in a salad or some dish, and that's probably the way I would go. But yeah. Lisa says there is a great article I found in Scientific America that explains why raw mushrooms are no problem. Oh, cool. I just found it on Google. It was great news because I had been avoiding them for so long. Okay, wow, nice. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Jordan, that might be something you want to just look up. Scientific America. Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. Oh, thank you, Jordan. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Yeah, you're very welcome, Larry and everybody else. Lisa says that she likes to soak raw mushrooms in marinade for a few hours before eating. Yeah, that's a great idea. What do you like to marinate yours in, Lisa? Anything specific, or just like lemon juice, or you know, I know some people do like tamari, things like that. Typically, if I marinate mushrooms, it's usually lemon juice, but I'm not sure what you marinate yours in. Okay, lemon or vinegar as an acid, and then mix with a sweetener and something salty. Okay, yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, Larry's been doing lemon juice too. Yeah, see, we're on the same page here. All right. Wow, it is 10:30 here. Might be an hour before or after that, wherever you are, or maybe more. So I don't know. You guys have any other pressing questions? Otherwise, I think it might be time to call this one a night. All right, Jordan asked about sea vegetables, if they are okay. Yeah, I definitely think they're okay. I try to get mine from the company Maine Coast Sea Vegetables, just because, I know I said before that the water is one flowing system, and where one area is contaminated, it will find its way to the other part. But at the same time, I'm still going to source my sea vegetables on the Atlantic side rather than the Pacific side, which is closer to Japan, where there's more nuclear, radiation. Yeah, it's late. Let me think. Nuclear runoff. There was a spill over there. So I try to go for the Maine coast sea vegetables as much as possible. And I actually submitted a question because I've been, reading about this for many years, and I have heard that, I was questioning the level of iodine that is contained in sea vegetables, because I've read that since iodine can evaporate as the seaweed is dried, some people have claimed that you lose the iodine content as the seaweed is dried. And so I sent a comment or a question to Dr. Michael Clapper with that question to get his opinion on it, because it's kind of hard to find a definitive answer on that. And he said that the iodine that is incorporated into the seaweed's fiber should not evaporate. It should still remain in the should remain bound in the fiber, and they don't heat the seaweed hot enough to evaporate the iodine. And so so that was good to hear. And I eat seaweed probably a couple times a week, but I go in phases with it too. Sometimes I'll do it a couple times a week for months, and then some months I'll go, without even having it. So my favorite seaweeds are dulse, wakame, nori, and kelp. I mainly do dulse, wakame. Those are the two main ones, and then I'll do nori sometimes as well. And then sometimes I've got a little shaker of kelp that I'll just sprinkle a little bit onto my salads, just because it's so high in iodine. I don't want to get too much, and they say that you can get too much if you do too much kelp. So I just do a little bit of kelp. Otherwise, I do, I don't even know how much, a couple tablespoons of dulse or wakame. All right. Anything else? We've got 10 people still here. So I just want to say thank you guys for sticking around and hanging out with me. Thank you, Jordan. You as well. Sherry, you as well. I will say hi to Celine for you. She might be sleeping already. So, all right. Yeah. Again, thanks, guys, for hanging out. I hope this was helpful, and we will do this again soon, and I'll keep you updated if there's any new revelations from the fast. But I think that's pretty much it. I think I'm 7 weeks. I've heard, I follow Lauren Lockman. He says that there can be benefits that you receive like I think 6 months post fast. So I will keep you posted if anything else comes up. But yeah, we'll have to do another live here soon. And if you have any questions, always feel free to leave them in the community tab, and then I'll have some questions to build up and do another live stream with. And yeah, so the Free Melon Society. Hey man, hey, good to see you. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we're just finishing up here, but great to have you join in here anyways. But yeah, so again, if you have any questions for the next one, leave them in the community tab. I'll put a post right when I log off here, and I'll just say questions for the next live stream, and then we can have something to go off for the next one. All right, so once again, it was great to see everybody, and always follow your raw intuition. See you later.